What I'm going to talk about is different types of sparring that you can use instead of doing full sparring, because contrary to popular belief, most people think that you should be full sparring all the time. You should be doing full blown 100% effort, punching, kicking. You know, if you're boxing, just using your hands. If you're doing MMA, punching, kicking, grappling, just 100% full all out sparring. But that's actually not beneficial. If you spar 100% all out every single time, you're probably going to get yourself hurt, because no holds bar sparring is dangerous. And that's just a fact of it. Most people throughout history didn't develop brain damage just from fighting. Most of the damage that they developed was throughout the training camp. Most of the injuries that people acquire usually happen in training camp. It doesn't actually happen in the fight. So when you see somebody snap their leg doing a leg kick in a fight, it's not because all the damage was done right then and there. 9 times out of 10, they were already hurting their shins in training camp. So this is why I believe that you shouldn't be full sparring all the time. There's a time and a place to full spar. Let's say you're in camp and, you know, maybe you're 6, 7 weeks out. You're going hard because you have a fight coming up. But outside of camp, you should be recovering. Your sparring shouldn't be based on ego and pride and seeing who's a tough guy all the time. Outside of camp, it's time to get better and develop skills. So that's really just the main reason as far as safety when it comes to full sparring versus picking scenario-based sparring. Outside of safety, another thing is that most people, if you give them no limits and no rules for sparring, they're typically just going to stay in their comfort zone and do the things that they're good at. So they're always going to work their jab if they're good at jabbing. They're always going to be throwing their leg kicks if they're good at throwing leg kicks. They're not going to use the things that they're bad at. If they're not the kind of person that likes to move their feet and use their defense, they're probably just going to be offensive because they're so comfortable moving forward and being aggressive. When you allow people to just full spar, they're just typically going to stay in their comfort zone. And here's the problem with staying in your comfort zone. No one grows in their comfort zone. In order for you to grow, you have to be uncomfortable, right? So just think about it like this. Whenever you confront adversity and whenever you confront pressure, that's how you know you're reaching the limit of who you currently are. Think about like if you're bench pressing, right? I'm on a bench press machine and right now I can bench 250. But if I want to bench press 270, there's going to be a lot of discomfort, a lot of adversity, a lot of pressure. Why? Because who I am now isn't strong enough to lift 270, which means two things. Either number one, I have to accept that I'm just not the kind of person that can lift 270, or I have to break my current limits and reach new heights as a person that can lift 270. I can either grow through the adversity and through the pain and the discomfort, or I can stay the same. The choice is yours. Just know that every time something's uncomfortable, it's time to grow or stay the same. It's up to you. Which means that if you really want to get better in a hurry, purposely put yourself in uncomfortable situations. That's the best way to grow as fast as possible. Look at Goku from Dragon Ball Z. He's always looking to fight the strongest people. Why? Because he wants to get better. But yeah, so that's why sparring in worst case scenario is really good, because it helps you to be uncomfortable. It puts you in situations where you wouldn't normally be using these tools, right? So what do I mean when I say situational based sparring? Situational based sparring would just be like, for example, say instead of full sparring, I'm only using my jab in this round. Instead of full sparring, I'm only using my cross, or maybe I'm only using hooks, maybe I'm only using body shots, maybe I'm only using kicks. I'm sparring against someone who's only using jabs, crosses, or only hooks, or only kicks, or only body shots. We both have limited tools, or maybe I'm just much better than the person that I'm sparring with. I have limited tools and they have full tools. Either way, you're basically limiting the sparring into certain confines so that way you can grow by using tools that you're not as proficient at. That's what basically limited base sparring would be. Let's move into the next point now. So basically one of the key reasons you want to use limited sparring is because when you're limited sparring, you're going to pick one weapon. And when you pick that one weapon, you're going to be able to get much better at using that one weapon. So for example, let's say if I'm using my jab. If I'm using my jab, that's all I have. It's the only tool I have for the entire round. Well, guess what? I'm going to get a lot better at using the jab, because now I'm sparring different people with this jab. I'm seeing how to use setups depending on who I'm fighting with the jab. I'm fighting a tall person. I'm fighting a short person. I'm fighting an aggressive opponent. I'm fighting a defensive opponent. How do I use my jab against all these different styles of opponents? I'm really sharp and accurate with my jab now because I know how, who, and why, and where to use it. Same thing for the cross, same thing for the hook. You could even use just a simple combination. You could be using only a 1, 2, 3 the whole round. You have no jabs, no kicks, nothing. All you have is a jab, cross, hook combination. That's going to help you to become really good at using that jab, cross, hook combination because that's all you have in your bag. Does that make sense? So it's really important that you do this limited base sparring if you want to get better at certain tools, right? And now let's move to the next point. The next point is defense. So here's your main problem. I know everybody who's watching this, most people have the exact same problem. They think that all they have to worry about is offense. When the natural person thinks about a fight, they think about punching and kicking. They think about two people beating each other up. Not many people are actually thinking about defense. And defense is one of the biggest things you're going to get out of using limited base sparring, right? When you have limited tools in sparring, so let's say all I have is my jab and all my opponent has is his jab. Well, guess what? Now I'm going to learn how to defend jabs way better. Why? Because the only thing coming at me is a jab. So after sparring a tall person, a short person, the mover, the stationary opponent, the aggressive opponent, all these different styles of opponents that only use a jab, you're going to know how to defend a jab in every situation. You're going to know how to defend it when you're tired, when you have full energy, when the person is bigger, when they're smaller. Your jab defense is going to go through the roof. And the same thing goes for crosses, for kicks, for combination. Let's say he only has his jab cross hook. My jab cross hook defense game is going to go through the roof. Why? Because all I'm sparring against is a jab cross hook. So not only is it beneficial for your offense, it's also beneficial for your defense. All right, so now here's another thing to think about, right? So let's say you're in you're in MMA and you're in the end of the 5th round, right? You're in the 5th round in an MMA fight, or you're boxing and you're in the 12th round. Tired, you're fatigued, and guess what? You have an injury. Your right hand's hurt, all you have is your jab. If you're southpaw, your left hand's hurt, all you have is your jab, right? So you're not used to only having one weapon. You're gonna panic. And when you panic, guess what? All your IQ goes out the window. Because without your emotional intelligence, without your ability to stay calm and composed in high pressure situations, you're going to seize up. You're going to be nervous. And then all the skills that you've been learning throughout all these years are going to go out the window. And you're just going to be in there swinging for dear life. You don't want that to happen. So guess what happens when you use limited tool-based sparring? If you're used to only sparring with your jab or only sparring with your cross, you're comfortable in these situations where you're limited. You're like, I've been here before. I know how to be strategic and find my positions and find my spots to only use my one weapon. It's normal to you. You're used to it. As opposed to if you're always full sparring, you're not comfortable being in a situation where you can't use all your tools. And I feel like the best fighters are the best because they can be in a compromised situation and still prevail, still come out on top. Not just because they're the best physically, but because they're the best mentally. So this type of sparring where you only have limited tools, you're going to be able to stay calm and composed. And even think about when you want to attack somebody with all these different types of weapons and you only got one, that really takes real mental mastery. You have to stay composed and calm. Yes, I want to hit him with this other thing, but I only have my jabs. I got to stay disciplined. It's going to build that discipline in you. That makes sense? So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. It's basically the lesson was just on, limited tool-based sparring. So now I'm going to take some questions and then I'm going to hop off. All right, guys? Give me 1 second. I'm going to take some questions. Drop your questions.